Okay, good evening. I'd like to call our school board meeting to order. And we'll start off with a roll call. I just want to note that we have Mrs. Deeroff and Mrs. Denon on the phone this evening.
Mr. Foose?
Here.
Ms. Nyman?
Here.
Mr. Brees?
Here.
Mr. Lewis? Mrs. Usavage?
Here.
Mrs. Denon?
Here.
Mr. Boyer?
Here.
Ms. Deeroff?
Yes.
Mr. Elsier?
Here. Okay, next up is Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. Okay, we now have a welcome by Mr. Brian Rohn, the school principal.
Good evening. Welcome to New Hanover. Last year, I talked to you about a former author, or excuse me, a former student that is a published author, and showed you this book, Chicken Girl, where she got this published last year and mentions New Hanover in it. And there's a reason I'm going over that. One of the things that I do here is I go into classrooms and read to the students. And I found this book a couple years ago called Joshua Disobeys. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but it's all about a whale who disobeys his mother and gets beached and has to figure out a way to get back into the ocean. And what's nice about this book, and I have a cover on here for a reason, is because here's the author. You can see it. The author is a first grade student who in 1987 failed first grade, and that summer wrote this book and entered it into a national contest and won across all 50 states and had his book published. It's quite an interesting book, and I read that to our students here because I want them to understand that you don't have to be an adult to write. And today I'm happy to announce that I have yet another writer here, published writer. Currently, Harry, you want to come up here? Come on up here, Harry. Harry Miller, current student here at New Hanover, had an idea to write a book. Smile at the grandma over there. Had an idea to write a book and called his grandmother, who is over there, and his grandmother is a published author. And so this idea came about over a couple of months, and together they wrote a story. I'm going to pass it around, and Harry's going to read a page or two from it. But they wrote a story, and the entire book is Harry's idea. All the names are Harry's idea. The plot was Harry's idea, and a lot of the writing is also Harry's idea and exact words. So far, they've sold, I think it was published in May of 2019, if I remember correctly, and I believe it sold a little under 1,000 copies so far, and not just from here in the Boyertown area. So we're very proud of him. I'm going to pass around a copy as Harry's going to read the prologue to the story, okay?
Prologue. Did you hear? Outsiders are near our force field. Prince Timmy whispered to Dylan as they watched, eavesdropping outside the control room from the palace steps. What will your father do, Timmy? As king, he must leave them in the storm outside our field and cloaking device. We will never allow the veiled inside our kingdom. Timmy knew his father, King Asa. His duty was to protect his people, but keep the faithful of the kingdom safe at all costs. His father leaned closer to the viewing screen. Definitely a Jeep can count 3 people. He pointed to the corner of the screen. The woman is tending the wounded driver. The man in the officer's uniform appears indifferent toward the others, Master Barton said. He's inspecting the buffering capability of our cloaking device. Why in heavens were they driving so fast in this sandstorm? That I do not know, Father said. Look, the woman is excavating the driver. Master Barton peered into the screen. What are we to do? The man will perish without help, but the veiled have never stepped beyond our shields. Timmy's father's body stiffened. He's considering our kingdom's safety. If we do nothing, we violate all that we believe, Father said. Timmy's muscles tensed. King Asa placed his hand on Master Barton's shoulder. Fear has controlled us for far too long. If we do not act, all 3 will die in the haboob. Master Barton's eyes widened. But King, Sentry, alert the dragon guards. Benaiah, Uriah, and Eleazar. Lower the force field and the cloaking device. Have the dragon bar transport the veiled to the palace containment rooms. Move their vehicle to the mown field in the orchard. A hard knot formed in Timmy's stomach. He shuffled back a step. His muscles frozen. His arms fell limp by his side. His father was bringing the outsiders into their home, exposing their secrets to the world. What is he thinking? Master Barton summoned Dr. Tolley, instruct him to report to the containment center for a treated of the injured. Dylan grabbed Timmy's arm and yanked. Snap out of it. We gotta scram before they discover we're out of bed and spying. Numb from his father's decision, Timmy couldn't move. Dylan dragged him around the corner into the scheduled shadows of the palace. Their lives were about to change. This is the end of our kingdom, Timmy whispered.
So we're very proud of Harry. We have a lot of students in this district that do some extraordinary things, and I think it was nice to be able to show one of the things that you don't see very often, kids writing and really enjoying it. And Harry, I will tell you, and this is a true story, I'm friends with a owner of a book company, or of a bookstore, not in Boyertown, and I can't give away the person because I think he would be very upset with me. But J.K. Rowling, you know who that is? Okay. J.K. Rowling, when she wrote her first Harry Potter novel, was trying to get publicity for it, and went to this bookstore, and said, would you be willing to do a night at book signing? And the person read the book, didn't like it, and didn't have her come in. What a big mistake that was. So someone like that can get rejected, and you've been published. I mean, that's just simply amazing. So congratulations, Harry. So I'll leave the books up there for you to look at. Not that you wouldn't be paying attention to everything else going on, but if you want some downtime, you want to take a look at the book, I'll just collect them at the end of the meeting, okay? Thank you all for coming.
Okay, next up, announcement of previous executive sessions. On September 17th, there was an executive session for 60 minutes on personnel, and we just had an executive session tonight for approximately 50 minutes, also on personnel. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Bedden, special recognition.
Before we do a special recognition, Mr. Elsier, there's a card that we like the board members to sign, that will be circulated, that will be shared with one of our students who I believe has cancer. So if we could circulate that around, and each board member, if you want to know a little bit more about the student, Ms. Moyer is here and she can share more with you, but at least if you could all sign a card wishing our student well. The special recognition is around Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. The Boyertown School District is proud to announce that September is BASD Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. The Children's Cancer Research Fund summed it up beautifully. BASD celebrated these mighty kids and their families throughout the month of September. Because we know kids fighting cancer are mightily strong and their stories are mightily powerful, and funds raised for childhood cancer research can make a mighty big difference. Throughout the month, our individual buildings have recognized the importance of supporting the fight against cancer in children with special activities and casual for cause events that have raised both awareness and funds for various charities. Friday, September 20th, marked our district-wide Gold Out. Everyone was asked to wear their golden best and participate in a variety of activities, assemblies, card-making projects for their peers with cancer, and more. Faculties throughout the district enjoyed special treats, created cards, and spread awareness through special classroom crafts. In addition, the Bass football team featured a Gold Out, and students collected donations for cancer charities throughout the game. One Boyertown, even greater as one, Bears Care and Bear Proud. We'd like to say thank you to everyone who participated, and while September is recognized as a special month, I would ask and encourage that any time is a great time to support the cause. So if you find it in your heart, dig a little deeper. If you find it in your heart, give a little more. Time, encouraging words, visitation sometimes is more valuable than money. So if you have an opportunity, share that too. Everybody has something to give. Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Boyer? No?
I'll just say that the student that the cards are for is a third grade student. Or that good with my sorry. So we reached out district-wide, and there actually is a third grader at Earl who is battling cancer for the second time. He battled as a kindergartner and went into remission and is now back undergoing treatment. He's out for the next 6 weeks. So not only do you have cards to sign tonight that we're going to mail to him, we did it at the Ed Center on Friday. We collected cards, and his building is collecting cards for delivery over the next 6 weeks. So all of you will be touching him in some way in the coming weeks. So thank you very much.
And I would close with, I had a chance to, when I was visiting his school, to see and meet him. You talking about a bundle of courage? That little person has a lot of courage.
Okay, next up is public comment period number 1. No one's on. Okay, I've just told no one has signed up. So next up is approval of the minutes of August 27th, our board meeting. Okay, Mrs. Deeroff moves, looking for a second. Okay, Mrs. Usavage. Questions or comments on the meeting minutes of August 27th? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Foose?
Yes.
Ms. Nyman?
Yes.
Mr. Brees?
Yes.
Mrs. Usavage?
Yes.
Mrs. Denon?
Yes.
Mr. Boyer?
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff?
Yes.
Mr. Elsier?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, next up is approval of our minutes from our September 10th board meeting. Looking for a motion and a second. Okay, Mrs. Deeroff moves, second. Okay, Mr. Brees, questions or comments on these minutes from September 10th? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Foose?
Yes.
Ms. Nyman?
Yes.
Mr. Brees?
Yes.
Mrs. Usavage?
Yes.
Mrs. Denon?
Yes.
Mr. Boyer?
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff?
Yes.
Mr. Elsier?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, next up is report of the president. I have two items this evening. One is for my fellow board members. PSBA has their annual conference coming up in October. As you may recall, we have a board budget. If a board member wanted to attend this conference, it's in Harrisburg, Hershey area, as I understand. If you do, please work with the administration on attending there. And we do this every year. Next up, for my report tonight, I just want to answer some questions that the board has gotten recently on the possible closure of Pine Forge. And we've gotten some questions. I call it, in essence, the what-if question. And the what-if question, and it's a good one, is if we were to close Pine Forge, what if we had excessive growth in the number of students in the district? And again, this is a good question. We had an independent company evaluate some possible scenarios. The administration has presented some possible options for future growth. So let's level set for a minute. One, none of us, to my knowledge, has a crystal ball on what may happen in the future. Currently, our economy is growing and has been now for over 10 years. But we do know that history does repeat itself. And we do know that the American economy, any economy for that matter, is cyclical. And there currently have been signs of recession. We also know the birth rate, and this was actually called out in a projection 2 or 3 years ago that was done for our district, is the declining birth rate in the district. So as an example, as you look around the table here, short of our student reps, many of us are not relocating, but we're not having any more children. And this is something to consider as well. We also know that the growth is on the east side, and we don't know where the growth would be as far as secondary, middle school, high school, but we do know not all the growth in students would be at the elementary level. And we know that Pine Forge is the most remote elementary school. Just some quick numbers, rough numbers. District current capacity is 8,200 students. Without Pine Forge, that drops down to about 7,800, 7,850 or so. When you look back at the district's enrollment over the last 10 plus years, it's fluctuated between about 6,500 and 7,200. I believe that was the max a couple years ago. And currently, this last year, we were roughly at 6,800 students. The independent company estimated we could go to 6,900, and we would still have about 867 vacant seats. Now, there was a plan reviewed by the district. It really wasn't presented in its entirety, so to speak, at this point, but I just want to call out some things that are in place for future options if there is excessive growth. First one, and this is a tool in the arsenal for all school districts, and that is redistricting. As you may recall, we voted to do that just a few months ago for next school year. And any district in the country, in the state of Pennsylvania that's growing, redistricting is a part of what they do, what they need to do. Quite frankly, if there was a declining enrollment, redistricting would be part of what would need to happen as well. And then if it got into excessive growth, the plan at this point would be to add on to an existing school, for example, Colebrookdale, that was already hashed out and previously approved, although that has been decided obviously not to do that at this point. When you look ahead, we don't know what may happen, but we do know that we can refinance debt. We do know that there are bonds that can be callable and can be refinanced in a few years in the event that there would need to be an added part of an existing school building. And then also, if we needed time, if there were some bubble years meaning where there's, 1 or 2, 3 years of excessive growth, but then it dips back down, there's always the portable classrooms. Not exactly the first or best, according to the administration, the best solution, but it is one that's out there. In fact, we've done this as a district a few years ago in Gilbertsville when we had excessive growth and we needed another couple years before the high school was completed. So these are options that I'll give future boards, future administrations to address if there is continued growth, or excessive growth, I should say, in the district. And just another point that I thought of was, if we don't close Pine Forge, the redistricting would still be needed because of growth in the district. And obviously, with excessive growth, there would be a need to add some teachers, and thus we need to address our financial situation sooner rather than later to put the district in a position in order to add teachers in the event this happens. So I just want to take a minute and thank you for listening, to put those thoughts out there, as there has been some questions that have come before the board on this. And again, good questions, but wanted to take a minute and answer those. So with that, next up we have the finance reports.
Good evening. Tonight we'll be looking at the Treasurer's Report for the month of August. And if you would please turn your attention to the page that has the revenue and expenditures on it. I'll just point out a few highlights. In the month of August, we received approximately $33.7 million in local revenues, and the vast majority of that, 33.2%, is from the local tax collectors collections that come from our tax collectors. August is the end of the discount period, and a lot of people wait till the very end of that discount period, as well as I took a quick look before the meeting tonight and saw, because of the timing of deposits, there's approximately almost 21 million more in tax collections through the month of September thus far. From state revenues, we took in approximately $3.4 million. 2.2 of that was the basic ed subsidy, and we also received $900,000 in property tax relief, the first of 2 payments, and $300,000 for transportation subsidy. The $83,000 in the federal sources that we received are our Title I and Title IIA. And expenditures, the total expenditures for the month of August were $5.5 million, and almost $4 million of that was our salaries and benefits. And last month was probably the only month I have ever said that salary and benefits were not the largest portion. Again, they're back to being the largest portion of our expenditures. I do want to point out that August was a 3-pay month. However, the very first pay for this fiscal year for teachers was on that 3rd pay. And that concludes my report.
Okay, looking for a motion and a second on the Treasurer's Report. Okay, Mr. Breeze, looking for a second. Okay, Mrs. Usavage, second. Questions or comments on the Treasurer's Report as presented? Okay, seeing and hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Foose?
Yes.
Ms. Nyman?
No.
Mr. Breeze?
Yes.
Mrs. Usavage?
Yes.
Mrs. Denon?
Yes.
Mr. Boyer?
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff? Mr. Elsier?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-2.
Okay, next up is the Solicitor's Report. I have no report. Okay.
I do have
sorry.
something.
I do, I was just told I forgot the secretary's report, so no report from the solicitor, secretary's report.
Okay, and I do have something this time.
Okay.
The board has an obligation to vote on the Pennsylvania School Boards Association leadership, and each board member has previously received an information packet and voting ballot. And the ballots that I've gotten back were given to me at the last Finance Committee meeting for tabulation. The positions that were voted on were President-elect, Vice President, Central at Large, Sectional Advisors, PSBA Insurance Trust Trustees, and School Board Secretaries Forum Steering Committee. All positions were running unopposed except for the School Board Secretaries Forum Steering Committee. The candidates selected by the forms that I received for the School Board Secretaries Forum Steering Committee are Crystal Mance, Jamie Lynn Zimmerowski, and Jennifer Davidson. So I will be electronically casting those vote results.
All righty. Thank you for that report. Next up, we have the Student Representative Report.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Haley Levengood, and I will be serving as the Senior Student Representative.
My name is Eric Muthersbaugh, and I'm serving as the Junior Board Representative. We hope that everyone's having a great school year this far.
Bash Link Crew has returned for its third year. Juniors and seniors work together with the freshmen this summer and will continue to do so throughout the school year to prepare them for the rest of their career at Bash. Link Crew held a very successful freshman social over the summer, which included a club fair and games.
Fall sports have started at Bash, Middle School East, and Middle School West. Sports include girls tennis, soccer, field hockey, cheer, and volleyball, as well as boys soccer, football, and cross country.
September 30th through October 4th is Spirit Week at Bash. Throughout this week, students will dress according to the theme of the day and according to student council leading up to the homecoming game. The game is on October 4th at 7 in the Bash Stadium.
The Powder Puff football game will be held on November 4th this year at the stadium. The cheerleaders will be playing flag football and the boys will be cheerleading. All the proceeds from this event will be donated to the Four Diamonds Pediatric Cancer Fund.
Congratulations to Dr. Cooper, the former Bash principal, who was named the 2019 PASC Principal of the Year.
Please join the district in raising a community of readers while honoring the memory of a family lost to tragedy this year. All the schools in the district will be collecting new or gently used children's books. Book donations will be used to restock the Little Lending Library at Ironstone Park, with any additional donations being used to build classroom libraries at the Pine Forge Elementary School. Collection boxes are located in the main library at Bash. All donations must be made by Friday, October 18th.
Thank you and have a great evening.
All right. Thank you very much for the update. Okay, next up, we have the Superintendent's Report, starting off with the consent agenda.
Actually, Mr. President, as I mentioned earlier, wanted to make sure that you all receive our first big report leading up to the October 1 count. October 1 is official count that is turned into the state for official enrollment. The first big report that's submitted to the central administration shows the following. The high school at 88.5% enrollment, middle school east at 88.5% enrollment based on the seats that were in your feasibility study done not too long ago. Middle school west at 88%, Washington Elementary School at 71.4%, and actually since I've been here, it's been the largest enrollment I've seen at 500 students in that building thus far. Boyertown at 62%, Cobradell at 76%, Pine Forge at 61.4%, Earl at 63.7%, New Hanover at 94%, and of concern and note to make the board aware, Gilbertsville is sitting at 103.7%. They're currently over capacity. As a district, we're sitting out of 7,793 available seats at 87.5% utilization with 973 vacant seats available in the district. The final, before we get into the consent information piece, has to do with, again, similar to you, the questions that we shared that we continually get around enrollment and then the fiscal situation. Recently, we received communication of concern from constituents about publication that had erroneous information. One specifically sharing that we do not have an opportunity to prepay our debt, and we actually have 6 different call dates that are available for the district to prepay its debt, ranging from as early some have occurred, October 2017, a date in 2019, 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2028. Additionally, there was a reference of having 26 years of interest totaling $148 million. We don't have $148 million of interest totaling. We have a outstanding principal and interest at approximately $148.8 million, but the district's liability is only $132 million of that when you take into account what would be come back from PlanCon. Our annual debt between 2020 and 2039 is fairly stable, a high of 6.8 to a low of 6.3. At this current time, our percent of budget for our debt is only 5%. It is not, and we are, by our financial analysts, considered to be one of the lower ends of debt service of the districts. When you push out to 2040 to 2044, our high right now is sitting, estimated being at 2.835 million to 2.832 million as a low, which means that we would be actually even lower than 5%. By state law, the district could actually have 225% of its average revenues, which we obviously would not want to do, because we would actually be able to borrow almost $255 million, which would be a delta of $122.4 million available to the district. Again, that's not something we would want to do in our district. So while we have some structural deficiencies in our budget, our debt is very low. And you think of debt as like a mortgage payment, and unfortunately, information is being put out that's not accurate, that causes us to have to go back and communicate differently. The question came up with regards to what is the plan for addressing this. We're in the process of only been here a year developing a plan, but we've talked about strategies, and it's really a 3-pronged strategy, which was focused on cost-saving strategies, revenue strategies, and service reduction and elimination strategies, which are not uncommon in our industry. Examples of cost savings are things we've done already with our technology, our refinancing or changes in contract agreements that we've done, our operational changes, and facility right-sizing is a cost-saving strategy. Our staffing model, which an example is as we've had attrition, we've looked at whether or not we really should backfill certain positions or we could do it differently. We've been reviewing our health insurance plan. We've had changes in more efficient and effective pupil enrollment and placement on the special ed department, and we're trying to look at ways to recapture some of the 152 students that are sitting in charter schools. The revenue strategies have included making sure that we look at the adjusted Act 1 index. I think anyone would tell you that not doing that is what's contributed to the structural deficiency in the budget. What people often don't understand is that the state actually passed the Act 1. An Act 1 index is defined as the state's measure for determining property tax increases justified by wage and cost inflation. So the state is actually saying that your wage and costs are going to go up X%. So short of you having an increase in property values or something like that, or businesses move in to increase your revenues, you run the risk of not being able to address those inflationary costs that you have no control over. In essence, it's just like any business that has to meet their liabilities. So that is kind of an update on the number of questions we've started fielding with people who are concerned about the current fiscal state, as well as our enrollment with regards to the pending dialogue about our facilities. On that, I would move to, as you suggested, the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, you have subject A, adoption of PSBA principles of governance and leadership. This is something that you've had in the past. We do have for you, PSBA sent the large display board for that item that has a line for every board member to sign to show their endorsement and support of it based on whatever action you take here tonight. Item number B is the Middle School East Musical, 2020 in the Woods Junior. Item number C is appointment of your representative to the, your delegate to the Pennsylvania Schools Boards Association, which is being recommended for Ms. Denon to continue. Item number D is your first reading of policies 008, 101, 209, 209.2, and 210.3. Item number E is your second reading and / approval of policy 011, which is the principle for governance and leadership. Item number F is a second reading approval policy 006 regarding your meetings. And then the final one, G, is the overnight trips. So at this point, an overnight trip would be the trip for Bash Student Council students to travel to Johnson, PA, to attend the PASC. The second trip would be for 3 Student Council students to travel to New York. The students will be traveling in connection with their advisor to present and attend workshop on various topics. Item number C for trips is outdoor education travel to Loyal Sac State Forest. And item number D on the trips would be for 160 plus Bass music students to travel to France and United Kingdom for 2021 to in March of 2021. So you get approval and they start the planning process as done in the past. Item number H would be approval of the creation of student activity count for that class trip for their fundraising activities. And item number I would be approval of the donation for the replacement of the pole vault landing system that will be provided at no cost to the school district, and it will be provided to us by the Boyertown Stadium Committee, and for a donation of $13,195. Item number J would be the settlement agreement for student number 240282, and we recommend approval of the consent agenda. That was a lot.
Okay, looking for a motion and a second on those items. Okay. Mrs. Usavage, a second. Mr. Boyer. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Foose?
Yes.
Ms. Nyman?
I would like to say yes, but because of the one, I'm going to have to say no.
Mr. Brees?
Yes.
Mrs. Usavage?
Yes.
Mrs. Denon?
Yes.
Mr. Boyer?
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff?
No,
Can you repeat that?
not in here.
Ms. Deeroff?
Right.
Could you please repeat? It didn't come across clear.
I-E-S.
Thank you.
That's a yes.
Mr. Elsier?
Y-E-S. That's a yes.
Motion passes 7-1.
Okay, next up is the superintendent's report, and this is the itemized portion of his report.
Mr. President, board members, subject item A is authorization to proceed to save some money with the refinancing of the district's outstanding general obligation bonds series of 2012 and the general obligation bonds of series of 2013 with an expectation of a minimum savings threshold of $80,000 or more, of course. So administration recommends approval and authorization for our financial advisors to move forward with refinancing.
Okay, looking for a motion and a second on this item. Okay, Mr. Foose, looking for a second. Okay, Mr. Brees, questions or comments on the refinancing piece? Just some backdrop. Mrs. Yusavage, you want to just provide some? Oh, okay. Well, basically, we discussed this at our recent Finance Facilities Operations meeting. Brad Remick came in and went through a litany of refinancing of the bonds and what it would cost. I believe at the time it was anywhere from $125,000 to $146,000 that could be saved. This action is basically based on his recommendation and the administration that at a minimum we would need to save $80,000 in order for this to go through. And the reason for that is with the markets fluctuating all the time, until he actually goes to finalize everything, we won't know exactly what we're saving. But this is at a minimum of $80,000. So any questions or comments on this piece?
Yeah, and
Mrs. Yusavage?
I did think of one clarification, and that is that the 80,000 would be net savings after all fees and everything.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. The net savings after any fees would be $80,000. Okay, we did have a good discussion at the meeting, so let's do roll call vote then. No questions or comments.
Mr. Foose?
Yes.
Ms. Nyman?
Yes.
Mr. Brees?
Yes.
Mrs. Yusavage?
Yes.
Mrs. Denon?
Yes.
Mr. Boyer?
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff? Mr. Elsier?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
Item number B is the Board of School Directors approve the revised job title and description for the Manager of Business Services to Director of Business Services. Over the past month, the board has been briefed on the transition that we're getting ready to experience with the appointment of Ms. Carol Pitts, moving from her current position as manager to Chief Financial Officer. And also with our review and dialogue with business professionals throughout the state and the current market conditions, we also uncovered that that was previously the title of that position at some point in the past. And you all received that information, and that's just a short synopsis for the public. We're recommending approval of to change back to the past job title of Director of Business Services.
Okay, looking for a motion and a second. Okay, Mr. Brees, looking for a second. Okay, Mrs. Yusavage, thank you. Questions or comments on this piece, which is a change in job title and job description? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Foose?
Yes.
Ms. Nyman?
Yes.
Mr. Brees?
Yes.
Mrs. Yusavage?
Yes.
Mrs. Denon?
Yes.
Mr. Boyer?
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff?
Yes.
Mr. Elsier?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
Mr. President and board members, the final item is the personnel actions that we are recommending the Board of School Directors approve the following personnel items. The retirement of one administrator. You received notification from me that Mr. Steve Missimer, current transportation supervisor, will be retiring effective January 3rd. And I mention that specifically because we want to thank Mr. Missimer for his 17 and a half years of service to Boyertown Area School District. Resignation of one professional employee and one classified. The appointment of one classified employee, and then also the co-curricular activities and AV/TV personnel, co-curricular fall sports, and department leaders. We also have the change in employment of one professional employee. We also present to you the appointment of mentor teachers for the staff induction program that was included in attachments, and also temporary professional employees attaining tenure information that was also provided to you, and I won't read all those names.
Okay, looking for a motion and a second on the personnel section as presented. Okay, Mr. Breeze, second. Mrs. Usavage. Questions or comments on the personnel? Okay, Mrs. Deeroff.
The one person we're hiring for athletic coach, what is that for? It doesn't say.
Which one is she, Key? If she's talking about the change in employment status, that person currently works for us, but they're also now going to be a substitute teacher and continue to coach. So the only addition is they're actually going to be a substitute now also for the district. They're already coaching for us. Could you hear me, Ms. Deeroff?
No, the question I had was what kind of athletic coach for what? Is the person...
Oh, you want to know what sport they're coaching?
Pardon me?
Are you saying what sport are they coaching?
Yeah.
I can't, excuse me, okay.
Yeah, it's softball.
Softball.
A lot of athletic coaches, so I didn't know what...
It's a softball that they currently coach, and they're now going to be a substitute teacher also.
Softball where? Junior high, senior high, east, west?
Senior high.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the personnel piece? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Foose?
Yes.
Ms. Nyman?
Yes.
Mr. Breeze?
Yes.
Mrs. Usavage?
Yes.
Mrs. Denon?
Yes.
Mr. Boyer?
Yes.
Ms. Deeroff? Mr. Elsier?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, next up, old business. Okay, I'm told there is none. We now move to public comment period number 2. Okay, we have 2 people signed up. First up is Jim Brophy, and the subject or question is board meeting from August.
I can pass on that. You answered my questions earlier in your discussion.
All righty. Next up, we have David Moyer, and his question was meeting in August. Just a reminder, the public comment period is 3 minutes.
Good evening. First, I'd like to take a moment and thank the principal. Nice school. You deserve it. Okay, I'm here. I got 2 questions. The business consultant and you, Mr. Bennett. What do you want to talk about? The phone call August 29th to the Washington Township manager. What was that to do? Bully me? Intimidate me? I'm not intimidated and I'm not being bullied. No place for hate. You ought to practice it. I don't back off easy. If you got something to say it here in public. I don't talk behind nobody's back. I hit them straight up. So I'm going to ask you this. I'm asking for your resignation. Because the board won't ask you, because then they got to pay you. So really consider it. This here running, you called everybody. You didn't call my mom and dad because they're deceased. Or you didn't call my pastor. Why didn't you call them? I signed that paper out there. My name's on it. My phone number's on it, my email address is on it, and you got to go around behind my back. Like, what? Like he was going to do something. Don't invite the public next time. When I say something, I say it in public. And I walk away and it's done. So I ask for your resignation tonight. Thank you.
Okay, next up is board comments. Okay, Mr. Foose.
Just wanted to welcome back our student reps. It's nice to see both of you. It's one of the more enjoyable parts of our meetings, so I welcome their return and look forward to hearing from you guys throughout the school year.
Okay, Mr. Boyer.
Well, I just wanted to say that I have a great appreciation for all of our parent groups in our school district. This past week, I attended an event at Cole Brookdale. It was called the Watchdog Dads program, and seeking male exemplars and role models to volunteer in our schools for a day. And it was a great event attended by many dads and students. I'll be volunteering later next month for this program. I did it last year, and I'm looking forward to that very much. Also, to mention another great thing that's done by our parents, our music league here in Boyertown Area School District is running the Arlen Sailor Cavalcade on this coming Saturday night. It's the 60th anniversary of this event, and I believe there'll be about 12 or possibly more high school marching bands performing at this event. Our own middle school marching band will be there performing, our high school marching band, and the Kutztown University marching band will be performing as well. I'll be volunteering at this event as well. We'll start about noontime and work till about 11 or 12 at night, and I'll be doing that with a lot of other parent and community volunteers who put this together for the benefit of our students and our community. So I encourage everybody to come on Saturday and buy a ticket and see these great performances and support our students and our school district and our community. That's this Saturday, the 28th, the Arlen Sailor Cavalcade, the 60th anniversary, which I think is tremendous. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mrs. Usavage.
Just wanted to thank Mr. Rohn for bringing to our attention the great talent and work of our students here at New Hanover.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Baden.
I won't go back and forth with someone in the audience, but I want to go on record to the board. Misinformation was shared in the minutes at one of the township meetings. I made a phone call and requested to speak to that representative, Mr. Moyer. He was not there. The township manager answered the phone. I shared the concerns with the township manager and left a message for Mr. Moyer to call me back, which I never received a phone call back. So just to put that, and I didn't call anybody else. I called the township asking for Mr. Moyer. So there was no calling of a lot of people. Okay, and I've never received any other communication or response to that request to speak to the person at that time. My final comment is I would like to take this opportunity, and I thank Mr. Sultanic for reminding me, because I'm thinking of October, but before our next voting meeting, Ms. Clauser will not be with us. She will be moving on to her next opportunity before the next actual voting meeting. I want to say thank you for your support and your service and the work that she has done to try to move the district forward. So if you would join me in thanking her, I'd appreciate it.
Ms. Nyman?
Thank you. I wanted to just share why I voted no on the consent agenda. The PSBA Principles for Governance and Leadership. It's about respect, and this board, the majority of this board, does not show respect to the minority. And with that in mind, I cannot vote for that. I'm sorry. There's been a lack of respect for years now. You can't have people sitting here at the table laughing at people when they make a comment. You can't have a board member emailing that when you ask a question, your tone's wrong or you're borderline harassing. Where's the respect there? When I asked Dr. Benton some questions and I had this email from that person, it was uncalled for. And I respected Dr. Benton's comments back to me, and that was fine. So for that board member to go after that point, and say what he did is uncalled for, and there's no respect. None. So I cannot go by that. Another thing I wanted to say was at a past meeting, comment was made that they don't know where people are getting information from, that it's misinformation about building a school in Montgomery County. People need to go back, and the original Plan Con was the renovation for the high school, I believe, possible addition to Cobradale, a new school in Montgomery. So that was part of the original Plan Con. So that's where everybody is getting it from. So for a board member to sit here and say that was never discussed, it was. So I'm sorry, when you can sit here and do this stuff, I can't go for something like that. Thank you.
Okay, yes, Mrs. Usavich.
Yes, I just wanted to share about the plans for building. That is true, that many years ago when there was a moratorium being set on the Plan Con program, and which meant no schools could add into that program, and so that means you don't get the reimbursement from the state. The school board did look and say, what in our foreseeable future might we need to do? And so we put in Plan Con projects for the Bash renovation, which we did, the junior high west renovation, which we did, the Colebrookdale Elementary School renovation, which is still in the Plan Con list, and a new elementary school in Montgomery County. And you may recall on this board just last year, we officially directed administration to remove that, have that removed from the Plan Con list, so that the rumors that we wanted, that were going around, like are seeing in different newspapers or minutes of townships that the board intends to build a elementary school, we hoped that that would reduce those rumors, because there is no plan to do that, and it has been removed from the Plan Con list. So that's the history, the beginning, which was correct, and the history more recently. Thank you.
Yeah, just a point of clarification, if I may. There was a vote to remove a new elementary school in Montgomery County. That was about 2 years ago. John Landino was our president at the time, and that was because I think the board knew that it just wasn't feasible, so why even leave it in there? But I do believe, and I'm certainly not the expert, but I do believe the plan to expand Colebrookdale has expired or is about to expire. So maybe we can get an update on that if need be, because I do know that there are timelines to all of these plans. So yes, that was back in like 2012, 2013. You're right, with this moratorium, where the board wanted to try to get in before the door was shut on doing Plan Con. Yes, Ms. Nyman.
Just to clarify, it was in, and in June of 2017 was when it was voted out. And also, I'm going to be doing another right-to-know request because I'm still not getting the information I want. Or better yet, maybe, Dr. Bedden, I have a vacation day coming. Maybe you allow me to go into the elementary schools and walk the schools with the principal and see for myself what the rooms are being utilized for, and I can do my own little. So if that's feasible, Dr. Bedden, I will see what vacation day I can take, and I will plan on looking at all of the 7 elementary schools in one day.
Okay, so we can get that set up. Any other board comments? Okay, seeing none, hearing none. Next up is announcements. So as usual, Tuesday nights, we'll be here, normally at the Ed Center, but check the website. We have a couple committee meetings coming up, workshops in the near future. So with that, looking for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Brees, second. Ms. Nyman, meeting adjourned.